Hey guys, welcome. We are live and we're talking about straw singing today. And I know that you guys have been hearing about straw singing everywhere. I mean, there's so many things on YouTube and on Facebook and all this, like why straw singing is going to save your voice and how straw singing is like the thing that's going to, make your voice amazing. And I don't know, I'm calling BS on all of that. Okay, so today we're talking about why straw singing is total BS and what you need to do instead. And so if you're new to this group, or if you're just joining us, I broadcast on StreamYard. And so if you're on Facebook, feel free to comment and I will engage with the comments. But unless you've registered your name with StreamYard, which is free, and they don't spam you or anything, it just allows me to see who it is. Otherwise, I will totally see the comment, but I might not know exactly who it is. And that's cool. So you can just, say, hey, it's Jen, and comment. Anyway, all right. So let's get right to the juice here. Let's talk about straw singing. So first of all, what is straw singing? You may have heard about it. You might know what it is. You might not know what it is, or you might know about it, but you might not know how it works or why it works. So straw singing is the practice of using an actual straw, the size of a drinking straw or maybe a little bit smaller. And it's about putting the straw in between your lips and phonating through the straw, doing your exercises through a straw, getting melody through a straw. And what straw singing does is it reshapes the vocal folds for more efficient phonation. So the small opening of the straw, when you're phonating through the straw, the air that's coming through the cords that's leaving your body is going out through this small, tiny opening of the straw. And so that small opening of the straw, it creates like a back pressure inside the vocal tract, inside the pharynx, which minimizes the pressure differential between the space above the vocal folds, which is the pharynx and the mouth, and the space below the vocal folds, which is, down here. So the thing that straw singing does is it evens out the pressure above the cords and below the cords. And so what that means is it evens out what's called subglottal pressure and supraglottal pressure. And when that pressure is equalized, it helps the vocal folds vibrate more efficiently. And so what this does is this helps to create what we call an inertive reactance, which is a fancy word for an energy efficiency loop between the vocal folds and the rest of the vocal tract. So the vocal fold vibration feeds acoustic energy up into these supraglottal spaces, into the spaces above the vocal tract, into the pharynx and into the mouth. And the vocal tract in turn feeds acoustic energy back when you have the straw in your mouth, okay? The vocal tract in turn feeds acoustic energy back to the vocal folds down to help them sustain this efficient vibration. Now, all of this is very well and good, okay? There's nothing wrong with this. This is not gonna, create anything bad, right? This is all very good. And working with straw singing can be helpful to eliminate vocal fatigue. But the reason why I think well, let me back up for a second. Straw singing can be good for eliminating vocal fatigue because what it does, when you eliminate this pressure differential, it reshapes the vocal folds, which have been misshapen, basically crunched on, by too mumuch pressure, too much subglottal pressure, okay? So if you guys experience tension, vocal fatigue, strain, what those things are a result of is too much subglottal pressure, too much pressure coming up underneath the vocal folds, okay? So what straw singing does by putting the straw in your mouth and by this inertive reactance and creating this positive efficiency loop, it eliminates the pressure differential because it creates pressure above the vocal folds in and below the vocal folds in an even manner. So there's the exact right subglottal pressure and supraglottal pressure that then eliminates the crunch that had been on the cords when it was all just subglottal pressure before. So it allows you to reshape the cords, which basically means just chill them out and reduce vocal fatigue that way. So if you're somebody who has to talk a lot for your job and you just realize that you're constantly losing your voice, or if you're somebody who is experiencing a whole lot of tension and strain in your singing, doing some straw exercises after you feel that strain can help you to kind of relax the cords, so to speak, and bring them back to stasis, okay? But here's the problem. Here's the problem with all of this. The reason why I think that this is all just BS and I'm not hopping on this straw singing bandwagon is because, you guys, it is a Band-Aid on a mosquito bite. Think about it. What does a Band-Aid do for a mosquito bite? Nothing, okay? That stuff is still gonna itch. Doesn't matter that you put a mosquito bite on it. It does nothing for the real problem, okay? It's a Band-Aid on a mosquito bite. Why? Because it doesn't address what's really going on. So if you're dealing with vocal fatigue and tension, it's because you don't have the correct amount of subglottal pressure to begin with, which means that you either have too much or too little, and either one is going to take you out, okay? So after you've sung like that for a while and you're tense and you're fatigued and you're strained, straw singing exercise, they can help bring your cords back to stasis. But the problem is it doesn't address what you're doing that's creating the inefficient subglottal pressure in the first place, meaning it doesn't address what you're doing that's creating the tension and the fatigue in the first place. So you'll bring your cords back to stasis with the straw, and then the next time you go to sing, you're gonna be right back in the tension that's creating the fatigue in the first place. So then you become a complete slave to the straw because you're on this hamster wheel of vocal fatigue, straw, because nobody is addressing with you the issues that are causing the fatigue in the first place. And if you knew them, then you wouldn't need the straw in the first place. And so that's why I think this whole straw thing, the whole straw singing thing is it's just nonsense. It's a fad and it's just BS because it doesn't address the real problem. And guys, after doing this for many, many years, what I know is this. If you need a straw, then you are on a negative feedback loop of tension, okay? If you need a straw, until and unless you address why the tension is there in the first place, you will always be a slave to the straw, which affects your stamina and your confidence, and that has a huge effect on your ability to thrive in the long run in your singing career or in the short run, okay? So the way we get rid of tension and vocal fatigue and stubborn physical habits that are sabotaging your singing without needing a straw and without doing any other fad ever again comes down to understanding why you are feeling so much tension or vocal fatigue in the first place when you sing, what this negative feedback loop of tension and fatigue is all about, and what to do to get rid of it. So first, let me explain to you what the negative feedback loop of tension is in the first place. So we have a member of our group who wrote me not too long ago, and his name is Frankie, and I want to use him as an example because I was talking to him recently because he wrote me about this tension that he's feeling when he sings. And if you watched that live, when I was talking about that, you'll remember that what he wrote is that when he pushes more and more to try to increase his pitch, his voice just flats out, his throat strains, and he's trying to hit the pitch, but the note's just not there the way he wants. And the more he pushes, the more tension he feels. And so he's pretty much summed it up right there for you, which is that the more you push, the more you tense, the more you strain, the worse the note comes out, which then makes you insecure because now you have evidence that you suck and that you're not good enough. So you trust your technique less, you trust your talent less, you trust your instrument less, and you push more and you strain more, you sound even worse, you trust even less, you push even more, you strain even more, you sound even worse, etc., etc. And therein lies the loop. Okay. And it just constantly feeds on itself until you either get a vocal injury or you throw up your hands in defeat. And so, how do we interrupt this negative feedback loop? And on the surface, you might say, well, he just needs better breath support. He just shouldn't be pushing. And you'd be right to a degree. But see, if you teach a singer rock solid support that they can completely rely on, the tension should go away. That's true. Because, the tension is there because when a singer is pushing, they're not supporting, right? So as a reaction, because they don't have that reliable, rock solid lower support in the body, in the lower body, without that, other parts of the body come in to compensate and support the sound in its place. So, when the rest of the support is not working, neck might come in, jaw might come in, tongue might come in as a reaction, right? By holding in the neck and the jaw. It could be ribs, it could be your tongue. When the body doesn't feel inherently supported by that lower support, those other parts of the body come in and they're like, I'll do it. I'll support you. And so they grab, and hence the tension. Sometimes they're there to create a dam. So think of this is another way that happens, where when the lower body is not supporting the way it should, now we get an excess of air flooding up. So we're getting too much subglottal pressure, okay? All this air is coming up and singer feels that, hears that, doesn't like the fact that all this air is flooding out because now the sound is airy. And so what they do is they create a dam up here or with the tongue or with the jaw to essentially block all that excess air that's been coming up so that it's not an airy sound. But in doing so, again, we get tension and we get vocal fatigue because any tension is putting pressure on the larynx, and the vocal cords are these very, very fine butterfly wings that just come together like super fine on the super edges, and they are delicate, okay? So any tension that's being put on is going to cause them to fatigue because it's too much, okay? So, and then the strain comes in because now you've got this big old block in what should be an open energetic channel in your instrument. And so, if the throat or the jaw is tensing, the brain's like, how am I going to get this air past this? How am I going to get the air past this giant block? And so now the body feels like it has to push in order to get the air past the block, which leads to more subglottal pressure. And then you need the straw to even that out. So now you're a slave to the straw, right? But by pushing so much air in order to get past that block, it sabotages any chance of efficient support. And it makes the jaw or the neck jump into action even more to compensate for the lower body that's no longer supporting you. But now you have this block in your jaw, your neck, your tongue, your ribs, wherever, which makes you push more to get past that, right? So you're now pushing more to get past the block. But now the body's like, but now there's too much air, so now I need more of the block. But then how am I going to get past the block? So now I need to push more air, and here's another loop. It goes on and on and on, right? So you've got these two giant negative feedback loops working concurrently with each other, making it near impossible for you to sing the way you want. So what to do? What do we do? The only way that we can break the negative feedback loop of tension, and no straw is going to do this for you, okay? The only way we break it is by addressing the thinking behind the singing, okay? There is a reason why a singer like Frankie, for him, just learning better support is not going to kick the loop. Because you cannot address a singer's technique or her physiology in a vacuum. I could have the best technique in the world. I could understand exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in my body to support my sound. And yet, if in the moment of singing, even after I've had my tension released by straw exercises or acupuncture or massage or whatever it is, right? Even after I've released the tension in that way, there's a reason why I'll feel great. And then the moment I start singing again, all the tension's going to come back. And it's because nobody would be helping me understand the thinking behind the singing, the thinking that is sabotaging the singing, because it is the thinking that creates the tension. Okay? You guys understand this, but you don't connect the dots. We as humans, we physicalize our emotions and our thoughts. It's just part of being human. We all do it. It's totally normal. But for somebody like a singer or any other athlete whose body is their instrument, okay, for us, physicalizing thoughts and emotions can really get in the way of us being able to do our job, because it's preventing our instrument from being used most efficiently. So until you address what's going on in the thinking that's being taken into the body, you're never going to be able to fully kick this tension and improve the singing. And that's why just teaching a singer badass support is usually not enough to break this negative feedback loop. Because you guys, I can give a singer the best technique in the world. And if you know me, if you follow me, like, I work my singers hardcore in technique. It's super important. And intellectually, she's going to understand 100% of what she's supposed to be doing with her body. But in the moment of performing, there's something in her thinking that is preventing her from actually trusting and using that technique that she intellectually knows in that moment. So her body goes into the fear reaction, which sabotages her support, which causes the negative feedback loop to kick in, which then causes her to make the sound that she was scared of making in the first place because of all that make, force, do, push, manipulate that's going on, because she's now abandoned her technique, which causes excess pressure, which causes the fatigue, the tension, which causes the strain, which causes the sound that she doesn't want to make to come out, which then gives her evidence that she's really not good enough, which means that then the next time she goes to sing, she's going to force, push, manipulate, control more, which is going to cause her to sound even worse, which is going to cause her to have even more evidence that she needs to, and here it goes, it goes, it goes, it goes. And you guys have heard me say this before, but I will say it again. The body cannot do what the brain is sabotaging. It just can't. And any pro athlete or Olympian will tell you this. They know it because they train their mind and their body to work together. And unfortunately, singers are not trained that way, much to our detriment. And so this is what I do with singers in my program, especially in the intensive program. We unpack the brain so that it stops sabotaging the body, and then your body is free to make your most powerful, effortless, and unique sound. You guys, your body knows how to make sound, but most of the time it's the stinking thinking that starts sabotaging the body and prevents you from doing that. And no straw is going to help you with that. So that's why I think this whole straw singing thing is just, it's a Band-Aid on a mosquito bite, And so once you understand the thinking behind the singing, that's like the rocket fuel that's gonna the singing and the career. And it can happen really quickly too. I remember my singer, Perry Sussman, she's an opera singer in New York who came into the intensive about a year ago. And, she came in to work with me after a really long dry spell of auditions where she wasn't getting in callbacks and she wasn't booking any principal roles. And she was feeling really beat down. And she was starting to doubt her talent and wondering if, at that point, at 33 years old, if she was ever really going to break through to the next level of working in like top level A and B opera houses. And, this work that we do of merging the high level technical training with the mindful practice that allows you to stop sabotaging what your body can do so that you don't have to worry about tension and strain. It eliminates it. This work happens so quickly when you get the mind and the body working together. And so I remember Perry in her second week of the program, she came into studio class and she was like on fire, and she was so excited because she had gone on her first audition since being in the program. And she got into the callbacks and she booked the gig right away. And she'd only been into the program 2 weeks, okay? So I'm telling you guys, this is powerful, powerful stuff. And Perry's a rock star. She's so wonderfully committed and coachable and accountable. And I say this not just to celebrate Perry, but to also let you guys know that you don't have to settle for being stuck in this negative feedback loop. You don't have to settle for constantly second guessing your talent because tension or vocal fatigue is holding you back from really singing to your potential instead of feeling so insecure about your sound because you're not really sure what's going to show up that day. You know, you do not have to be in that anxiety of, what if I actually get the gig? Do any of you go there? Like, you really want it, but oh my God, oh shit, what if I actually get it? I'll never be able to sing this night after night after night with all this tension and strain, and then they'll know that I'm a fraud. Do any of you go there? I've seen it. I've worked with it. I know where you guys go in your head. What about this one? Like this fear of vocal injury. That's a huge thing. I want you to know you do not have to settle for living with this fear of vocal injury, because even though you get a good sound, you secretly know how much you're straining and tensing to get there. And you know it's unsustainable. And you worry about vocal injury. Guys, there is a way out of this tension. So, you know, if after hearing all of this today, you're pretty sure that you've been stuck on this negative feedback loop, you know, and you're pretty sure that this tension is really sidelining you. If you're hearing this and you're resonating with it, then let me help you. If nothing else has worked, even if you've tried everything else, right? So that you won't ever need to do another useless straw singing exercise ever again. This is what I do. This is what I do, you guys, is to help talented singers get past your blocks, to be able to sing in a way and perform in a way that makes the dream possible. And I always set aside time on my calendar to share the strategy that I use with my singers with you, you know, so that you understand that there's another way. And I invite you to book a call with me if you're resonating with this and you're thinking, I am so done with this and I know that I have what it takes and I'm just done. I'm sick of settling for this second-rate sound by the tension and the vocal fatigue and everything, or I'm sick of constantly worrying that I'm going to damage my voice because I know even though it sounds good, the way I'm singing is unsustainable. If you're resonating with this, then book a call with me. I want to know what's going on, you know, and share with you what I do that might be able to help. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. If this is something, if you're sitting on the sidelines and you're like, well, maybe I should call, just do it. It's free. I do this for you guys because I'm like the only one who works this way. And I want you to know that you don't have to settle for the old way that's just not helping you anymore. So here, I'm going to put this in the chat, or not in, well, I will put it in the chat too, but here it's at the bottom of the screen. GoOnceHub.com/Arden_schedule call. And, you know, what I want to understand from you and I want you to get some clarity on is what's going on. What's going on? What's the negative feedback loop you're on? You know, let's talk about, let's get some clarity on what are the things that are blocking you. And if I think I can help you, I will 100% let you know. And if not, I will point you to somebody else or something else that I think can help you to get the outcomes that you want. So, you know, no matter what on the call, you're going to get clarity. We're going to talk about 45 minutes and you're going to get clarity. We're going to lay out the strategy that's going to help you to get out of the tension and the strain so that you can sing freely, be able to rely on the longevity of your voice, get rid of the risk of vocal injury, you know, constantly, consistently nail performances that connect deeply with your audience and make an impact so that you can open all the doors to the life and the career that you want from your singing. So click on that link that I put, and I'll put it in the chat too. You know, and I want to be really upfront for you guys about who this call is for, because this call is not for everyone. So this call is for you if you have already had at least a year or so of professional one-on-one vocal training. If you are a newbie, if you have, and when I say newbie, I don't mean that you're new to singing. You could be singing for the last 15 years, but if you've never had one-on-one professional expert training, this is not for you yet, okay? If you've not been in voice lessons regularly, first things first, you need a baseline of understanding first. So if you do not have that, don't book this call. Go get that first. Because of the pandemic, all of the most expert, amazing teachers around the world, we are all online. You can work with anybody. So there's zero excuse anymore like, oh, I don't have anybody in my area. Get on a computer and go get somebody who you feel resonates with you. However, if you have had lots of training and experience, if you are out there hustling towards this dream, this career that you want, if you are committed, decisive, if you are resourceful, if you are accountable, and you are ready to bust through all this stuff, get off the negative feedback loop so you can actually up level, right? Then this call is for you, okay? If in your quiet moments you're sitting there wondering like, why can't I get past this stuff? Like, I know I've got this in me, because if you did, your career would be at a totally different level by now. And if you're sitting there and you're absolutely committed to this future, you're accountable to doing the work, you're resourceful to making a huge impact with your voice and doing what you need to do to get there. And if you just need some help getting past the tension, getting off this feedback loop that you're on, then I'm here for you. Don't hesitate. Click the link, book a call. What have you got to lose? If nothing else, we'll talk for 45 minutes and you'll learn a little more about yourself. And if working with me sounds like a fit, fantastic. We can talk more about that. If not, that's okay too. So I want to go and look into the chat now. Do any of you have any questions about, this straw singing, this idea that we were talking about? Or if you notice that you're on the negative feedback loop, hang on, I'm just going to switch back here. Somebody's commenting about how you used to push so much air and that you didn't have the support. Yeah, because that can really damage, you guys, that can really damage voices, but sometimes we are in that spot where we understand the support. We understand we understand intellectually what our body is supposed to be doing. And yet in the moment when it counts, in an audition, in a performance, the body's like, nope, can't do it. Not going to do it. And it's like the most frustrating thing, because when you were by yourself in your own practice, it was. So these are the kinds of things that we deal with. Nobody cares if you can do it alone in your own practice, right? Nobody cares that Michael Jordan can sink a three-pointer in his driveway. What they care about is, can he do it in game 6 with 2 seconds on the clock? And all the pressure, right? Like, how many of you have trouble in auditions? Just go ahead, type into the chat. Where you're like awesome in performance, awesome on your own, but in the audition, it's like, it goes somewhere else, right? These are not singing issues, guys. These are thinking issues. When we change the thinking, we change the singing. How many of you feel so much tension and strain on your high notes? And yet you've been with your teacher. You understand what you're supposed to be doing. And yet it doesn't happen when you need it to. Again, not singing issues, thinking issues. So the problem is, the way singers are traditionally taught is you're taught from the neck down. Everything is addressed from here down. Nobody is addressing the one part of the body, right? Because when you sing, you're singing with your whole body. This is not your instrument. This whole thing is your instrument, okay? The way singers are trained right now and have been since the beginning of time completely leaves out training the one part of your instrument that can and will sabotage all the rest if it's not addressed, and that's your mind. And so how do we get off the negative feedback loop? It's because we are addressing the mind and the body, how they work together, the thinking and the singing, thinking behind the singing. And that's why I have students who are doing so well. That is why my singer Tess got a $50,000 license for her song in an Estee Lauder commercial. That is why my singer Grace, who in a pandemic just booked a whole summer's worth of performances for this summer coming up, okay? Touring, right? That is why they are thriving because they are no longer in the habits and the thinking that is sabotaging them from making the best sound and acting on their own behalf in the most powerful ways when they need to. So if this is resonating, I really invite you to book a call. I always set aside time in my schedule, so don't think, oh, I don't want to call, I don't want to bother her. Bother me, please, because I don't want you to feel stuck anymore. There is no reason why any of you should have to feel this way for 1 second longer when there's a better way to train that annihilates the tension and the strain, and you don't need to buy a $75 straw to do it. All right, you guys. Is there any other questions for those of you? Oh, let's see. Somebody else just posted. I wonder if functional singing helps with tension and over-singing. I've taken SLS for a couple of years and 3 years from Dr. Bull. I've heard about natural singing concepts with Cornelius Reed and functional singing. Well, okay, so I have heard, I know SLS. I know SLS. Cornelius Reed, I've heard of. I'm not super trained in that method, so I don't want to speak to something that I don't know intimately, right? My experience with SLS comes from working with a lot of singers who ruined their voices doing SLS because SLS doesn't teach support. So it's very difficult for me to get behind a system of training that at the end of the day doesn't talk about the fuel that's going to ignite the rocket, so to speak. You know, there are benefits to SLS for somebody who already has support and already understands a lot of support. But without that core rock solid foundation of support, my experience has been just from singers who have come to me from SLS methods, is that it has really detrimental effects because it creates a lot of tension because the singer is singing from here up. There's like, they don't talk, they don't address about that. And if that's not true, then maybe I don't know from what I speak. All I know is from many singers who I have worked with who have come to me with a ton of issues, tensions, and bad habits from doing SLS. The idea of like, you know, natural singing concepts, while I'm not completely knowledgeable in Cornelius Reed, I mean, I know of him, but I haven't studied that method. What I do know is that your body knows how to make sound. It does. A baby can cry at the top of their lungs and they never get tired and they never get hoarse. And it's the most present, resonant sound. Why? Because they don't have any habits or tensions that are standing in the way of Mother Nature's most effective production of sound. But what happens is over time, as we get older, we adopt physical habits and emotional habits that tend to get in the way of Mother Nature's most effective production of sound. And a lot of the work that I do with singers is understanding those things, unpacking those things, and allowing the body to do what it already knows how to do, and then enhancing that, stacking under it, and allowing that to be the foundation that allows you to do even more. So I don't know if that completely answers the question. But just speaking from my own experience, that's what I can say about SLS and understanding the idea of natural singing concepts. I don't know if it 100% aligns with what I just said, but that's how I approach these things. Your body knows what to do. And most of the time when I'm working with singers, we are unlearning. So, any other questions while we're on? And I love you guys for coming on and joining me today. It's really interesting. You know, I've had so many people ask me about straw singing, so I figured I would come on and give my 2 cents for what it's worth. And you guys, I get all worked up. I get all on my soapbox about it because it's just so freaking unnecessary. One of my singers who's in my program now bought a $75 straw like 4 months ago before we were working together. And it's like so unnecessary. It's so stupid. You know, it doesn't solve anything. If you plan on continually abusing your voice, great, go buy a straw because it'll help you, you know, come back to stasis after you've abused it time and time and time again. But how about let's learn how to not do that in the first place? So I get all riled up, guys. I get all up on my soapbox. because it's just common sense. And like everybody's all about like straw singing is going to save this, straw singing is going to save that. No, it's not. It's not going to save anything because it doesn't address the real problem. So I hope you guys were enjoying my fiery speech about straw singing. And if you've resonated with this and you really want to do the deeper work so that you don't need a straw or anything else, and you can get up there and be able to make a huge impact on your audience because you're no longer worried about the tension, the strain, the confidence, the reliability, then get on my calendar, use the link, book a call, and let's see if we can get you sorted. All right, you guys, sending love. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy Easter to those of you who celebrate, and don't hesitate to reach out. I'll see you next time. Bye.